Garnacho to Chelsea. Here we go.
Yes, let's flipping go! Garnacho, you're not Ronaldo, actually wants to join Chelsea. Chelsea, please, he's a great player. You will not regret signing him. He's Madueke's replacement right there. Please take it.
No. Alejandro Viva Garnacho to Chelsea. Chelsea! Alejandro Garnacho is keen on joining Chelsea. Confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, it was his priority to join them back in January and he's still wanting to join them this summer. Chelsea are considering to bid later this month for Alejandro Viva Garnacho, as said for weeks, and he's waiting for Chelsea as priority despite from bids abroad. We know Napoli really wanted Alejandro Garnacho, some Saudi clubs wanted him as well, but he wants to stay in the Premier League and he's made it clear he really wants to be in the Premier League. We've seen the links with Aston Villa, but they've not come out with any bids. It's mainly Chelsea that are coming in for that bid. I don't know what to say about this one, I'm not going to lie. Because don't get me wrong, I wanted it to work out at Manchester United. It's going to be sad to see Alejandro Garnacho go out and play elsewhere. The main thing is, with the amount of players Chelsea have, does he really start for them? Is he going to be used as a super sub? Is he going to go there and get loaned out straight away? I know for sure he's going to have a very good future at Chelsea if he does play.
Has Alejandro Garnacho just confirmed his move to Chelsea? So apparently, Alejandro Garnacho's official account has said this: "My blood will always be red. However, sometimes we have to move on to different paths in life." With a blue heart emoji. He's actually going to go. Like, Alejandro Garnacho is going to leave Manchester United. Do I want Alejandro Garnacho to leave? No. Am I saying this whilst wearing a Manchester United shirt with Garnacho on the back? Yes. Do I think Ruben Amorim wants to keep him? Obviously not. Ruben Amorim wants to get rid. Garnacho probably wants to go. At that point, it's best for both parties if he leaves. But of all clubs, why fucking Chelsea? Chelsea want both Xavi Simons and Garnacho. They're two separate topics and it's not either one or the other. Both are wanted. Chelsea are expected to place an offer for Garnacho before the end of the window. They've completed background checks and have no concerns over his character. I understand Garnacho wants to leave. I wouldn't let him go, but as I understand he wants to leave. But Garner, why Chelsea? Why fucking Chelsea? Go to Aston Villa, go to a different team abroad, go to somewhere else. Why Chelsea?
Garnacho to Chelsea, you heard it here first. Europa League final, United lose to Tottenham, and there is a big fallout between these two. So Garnacho doesn't start, and apparently afterwards, Almiron came out and said you better pray that you can find a club to sign you. Now we have Garnacho making Chelsea his #1 choice this summer. They've just had Sancho from United, so stuff like this can happen. It's not unrealistic. What I find crazy though, they only want 40 million apparently. 40 million! Garnacho, whatever you think about him, he is a baller. Minutes in the Premier League for under 21s, he's second most. Goals and assists in the top 5 leagues, he's third most for under 21s. The guy is a baller. Who would you rather have? Max Kilman for 40 million or Garnacho for 40 million? Brighton rejected 90 mil for Mitoma. They're similar level in my opinion. John Duran, 7 league starts in 2 seasons for Villa and went for nearly 75 mil. And United want 40 mil for Garnacho. Mad.
I know this might be controversial, but I don't mind signing Garnacho to Chelsea based on a few outside things. We've known for ages that Alejandro Garnacho is keen on joining Chelsea. Fabrizio's been tweeting about this morning. It's been his priority since January and he's still keen on a move this summer. Of course, we know he's not in Man United's plans for next season. He definitely will be leaving the club. Amorim has made that very, very clear. Chelsea are considering making a bid for him later in the month towards the end of the transfer window, and he's waiting for Chelsea as his priority transfer despite having bids and offers from clubs abroad. Now, I've said before that I don't want to sign Alejandro Garnacho. Now, I do stand by that if we're paying anywhere near the valuation of the 60 million that Man United want. If we're paying 60, 70 million, then that's absolutely crazy. We should be nowhere near that fee. He's not worth that. He's not good enough to pay anywhere near that kind of fee. Not a chance. However, if we can get him for 30 million, which is what's being rumoured, we're being sort of prepared to bid in the last sort of weeks of the transfer window because they want him out of the club and because he's not in the plans. And if they sign another attacker like maybe Sesko and then we get a 30 million kind of deal, I think it's a bit of a market opportunity. At 21 years old, to get 21 goal contributions in 58 games for Man United last season with how absolutely horrendous Man United were in all fronts, That's not bad. That's a pretty good return for a 21-year-old kid who's clearly got loads of talent, clearly got loads of ability. He's just very raw and not always finding that correct final pass or the correct final ball or taking the shot at the right time. But that's like a talent you can mould. Maybe Enzo Maresca's system will help him to do that. Look, there's going to be problems. He's going to have to accept he's not going to be a starter every week. He certainly doesn't walk into the 11. And we're obviously going to have to deal with his brother, who is one of the biggest issues with Garnacho, just the bullshit that comes with him. If we send General Enzo on him and get an Argentinian in there, to help him in, build him into this club, sort of bed him in, back him up, sort of talk him through it, and maybe sort of deal with his brother a bit more, then maybe this can work. But like I've said, if we're paying 60 million, then I'm absolutely nowhere near it. That's a horrendous signing. But if you tell me we pay 55 million for Xavi Simons and 30 million for Garnacho, coming out at 85 million, as a comparison to paying 90 million for Morgan Rogers, I'm taking Garnacho and Xavi Simons every day of the week. And look, it can only go one of two ways. We either mug off Man United and sign one of their best talents and use for 30 million quid, or he's shit and we just sell him to Arsenal for 50 million in a couple of seasons. It's a win-win.
Alejandro Garnacho is going to explode at Chelsea. He's going to be brilliant. You lot do know that, right? Man United fans, you do know that, surely. Listen, I've joked before about his dodgy first touch and things like that, but in all honesty, he does have a very high ceiling. He's direct, he's persistent, he's got goals in him, and he's only 21 years old. But the main reason he's going to explode is because Man United are cursed. We've seen too much evidence to deny it at this point. McTominay leaves the club, goes to Napoli. Oh wait, he's the player of the season in Serie A and wins the league. Elanga completely turns his career around, does brilliantly at Forest, joins Newcastle for over 50 million. Even Anthony left and remembered how to kick a football properly. This club is so cursed that they could sell Rasmus Højlund to Inter Milan now after the form he's been in for the past year, and he'd score about 25 goals in his first season. This club is so cursed that despite how good Mbeumo is, I wouldn't be that surprised if he scored about 7 league goals this season, just because he's playing for Man United. Man United could buy Lamine Yamal now and make him look like Dan James. You can't judge a Man United player, because they're always better when they leave.
Garnacho to Chelsea can actually be a good signing, only if this happens. Since I'd say around January, the Garnacho from Manchester United to Chelsea talks have increased. They've never really gone away. It's like, when you walk through a park and you step in a pile of dog doo-doo, and then you try to scrape it off your shoe, but the smell is just still there. That's what it's felt like to us Chelsea fans. Because Garnacho, not many Chelsea fans, including myself, are really sold on the player at all. He hasn't been that convinced about Manchester United. But the interest still remains. And even as of today, we're getting reports like Chelsea want both Garnacho and Simons. There's concrete possibility that Chelsea sign both. For Garnacho, it's something for the later in the window. Even more reports saying Alejandro Garnacho continues to wait for Chelsea. Apparently, he wants to move to London. He wants to stay in the Premier League. So obviously, Chelsea is probably his best fit for him. As I said, someone like me and many other Chelsea fans are not convinced of Alejandro Garnacho at all. I just don't know what he is that he's special at. He's not rapid fast. His dribbling's okay. He hasn't got that much flair. His finishing's a bit inconsistent. And obviously, there's a mentality problem as well. Obviously, his brother through social media. So a lot of Chelsea fans are concerned that there might be problems behind the scenes. However, shout out Younes Talks Football, who made a great point on Twitter saying, "I've got a feeling we might get Garnacho on loan with an option to buy or something like that. His options are restricted because he wants to stay in the Premier League and he has to leave United. George will probably go out on a needed loan and for a year we can see what happens. Chelsea have the leverage." And it's actually so true what he's saying, because Manchester United want to get rid of Garnacho. There aren't any other clubs coming in for him. Chelsea are the only one that remains slightly interested. If we can get him with a loan with an option to buy, similar to Jadon Sancho, even though it was meant to be an obligation, but it didn't turn out that way, we sent him back to United. What that does, it sees how he does for a season, and then obviously if he's not good enough, we can send him back, and then obviously if he is good enough, obviously then we can go and buy him. Because it's Garnacho, as much as I'm not convinced with the player, there is all the chance that he does work out at Chelsea. There could just be the possibility that he's in a struggling Manchester United team, and he can't really show what he's fully made of. So a loan with an option to buy, it could work.